A question that I get very often is, how do we measure the success of our Scrum Master? How do we measure the performance of a Scrum Master? There's a lot of confusion around this topic, but don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll get the answer to these questions. You'll know exactly what to do, how to measure the success of your Scrum Master. I recommend that you watch the whole thing. I will give multiple point of views in this video, and I will tell you my preferred approach. First off, we're going to talk about lots of KPIs, metrics that you can use to measure the success of your Scrum Master. But I still believe that there's one answer to rule them all. A universally accepted answer to the question, how do we measure the success of a Scrum Master? And I believe this answer is similar to anyone in the company. The company is trying to sell products, make products that provide value to customers, satisfy the customer, make sales, and make profits. At the end of the day, that's why we are working together. That's the ultimate goal of a company. And the same thing for a Scrum Master. If a Scrum Master is supporting a team, in a team that produces a top range, top high quality product, super valuable, customers love it, tons of sales, that's a pretty good Scrum Master. But I know that's not enough. You want KPIs, you want metrics, you want to know exactly where the Scrum Master is bringing value to the team, to the company. Don't worry, I got you covered, but still, I need to mention that most of these metrics, we can argue that most of these metrics can also be used to measure the performance of a Scrum team or measure the implementation of a Scrum framework in the team. Where I succeeded as a Scrum Master is where the team succeeded. Where I failed as a Scrum Master is where the team failed. And the same thing for a team. Where the team failed, I failed as a Scrum Master. But how do we know if a team is currently succeeding or failing? What metrics can we use? First, the sprint goal. I'm sure that you're using some kind of unit of measurement in the sprint planning. When you're doing the sprint planning, you're estimating work in hours or story points. I feel that the preferred approach is story points, but you can use any unit of measure you want. And in the sprint planning, at the end of the sprint planning, you agreed on a sprint goal and also a number of story points to take in the sprint, a number of user stories that the team believe it can get done. Two things. This commitment and also the commitment on the sprint goal. By the end of the sprint, are you meeting these commitments on a consistent basis? Is the team able to complete the sprint goal by the end of the sprint? Is the team able to complete all the things that they committed on by the end of the sprint? There's this misconception that all the user stories that the team decided to work on in the sprint, that they believe they can complete in the sprint, that's the sprint goal. No. It's not the same thing. The sprint goal is a single objective for the sprint. I like to tell teams to answer this simple question: what do we have to complete in the sprint? What user story, what feature we have to complete in the sprint, no matter what? That's the sprint goal. The other things we can sort of miss, but it's still good if we complete them, meet our commitments. But the sprint goal, we need to complete that. So is the team meeting the first sprint goal and consistently completing the sprint goal? Is the team meeting the commitments, all the other user stories consistently? Are they a sustainable pace? If all these things are good, we can assume that the Scrum Master is doing a pretty good job. And you can track that using the burn-up chart, using the burn-down chart. You can track scope creep using the burn-up chart. All these things need to be used on a consistent basis every single day. First thing in the morning, in the daily Scrum, open the burn-down chart, open the burn-up chart, make it visible, and let the team talk about progress. Are we getting closer to the sprint goal or not? Will we be able to meet our commitments? If not, what can we do right now to get closer to the sprint goal, to meet our commitments? Let them talk about that and support them, help them in doing that. The next KPI I like using is continuous improvement, which is really important. Remember, the Scrum Master is accountable for the effectiveness of the team, and there's no effectiveness if there's no improvement. This mentality, this growth mindset, development, constant, continuous improvement in the team. And one of the key events in Scrum where continuous improvement is usually talked about is the sprint retrospective, which usually the Scrum Master facilitates. I like evaluating the performance of the Scrum Master for the continuous improvement KPI using two simple metrics. First, healthy communication. Ask the team, observe, is the team healthily communicating? I know this metric can be subjective, But why would they lie? Make it anonymous. Do a survey with a team. Ask them if they are communicating well, if they feel that there's conflicts in the team, healthy conflicts, obviously. If they feel that they are growing as a team, teamwork is good, they are bonding as a team, they can collaborate together smoothly. Ask them and monitor if it's improving. Their processes also. Are their processes improvement? Are they making their processes more efficient, more effective? Find a way to monitor that. A big waste is also impediments, things slowing down the team. Are they tracking impediments? Are they identifying impediments? Remember, the Scrum Master doesn't need to resolve all impediments. That's a misconception. The Scrum Master should help the team identify impediments, remove impediments, and ensure that these impediments are not ignored. You can use something like an impediment log. You track when the impediment was open and when was it closed. How long is it taking? Is this continuously improving? Are they getting better at closing impediments or not? Or they are simply ignoring these impediments? The next thing to track is velocity of a team. Is velocity of a team at a constant pace? Or is it up and down and going into multiple directions? Are they always overcommitting or undercommitting? Another metric that you have to track is customer satisfaction. All the things that we are trying to do with Agile, with Scrum, all these metrics, all the practices. Same goal, producing a more valuable product, satisfying the customer. And you need to be able to measure that customer satisfaction. I like using NPS, Net Promoter Score, which is a sort of loyalty and customer satisfaction metric. You find a baseline and you ensure that this is improving. If it's improving, the Scrum Master is most probably doing a pretty good job. Another KPI that you can use to monitor the performance of your Scrum Master is trust and safety. Trust is the most important thing in the Scrum team. Without trust, there's no relationships. Without trust, there's no teamwork. Trust in the context of Agile is simply trusting that people in the team, people in the organization, they are doing the best possible work they can. People in the Scrum team trust each other. Teams trust other teams. Management trusts the teams. Teams trust management. The whole company is trusting each other. So how do you measure that? Anonymous survey. Simply ask them, do they trust each other? Do they trust other teams? Do they trust management? And ensure that this is continuously improving. Another thing is psychological safety. Are people safe taking interpersonal risk, challenging the status quo, raising concerns, asking difficult questions, admitting mistakes, or they fear that they will be punished or shamed if they do that? Without psychological safety, there's no innovation, there's no growth. You need to be in an environment where it's safe to raise these concerns, admit these mistakes, experiment even though it means that you will fail. How do you measure that? Anonymous survey again. Ask people all these questions. Are they safe? Do they feel safe? And ensure that you track that. You get a baseline and ensure that it's improving. If it's improving, we can say that the Scrum Master is doing a pretty good job. Another KPI that you can use is the team health or the team morale. But same as psychological safety and trust, really dependent on management. You can have the best Scrum Master in the world doing everything possible to improve psychological safety, trust, team morale. But if management continuously putting pressure on the team, delivery, and morale is low, they don't trust that the team is doing a good job, they are punishing and shaming the team. All these metrics will be low. Is it really the fault of a Scrum Master? If it means raising their voice, the Scrum Master doing all these things, they might lose their job because they are going against management. So make sure that you use these metrics when they are applicable in your context. There's also some more subjective ways to evaluate your performance as a Scrum Master. In 6 months, ask management, in 6 months, you will need to extend or not my contract. What will you base your decision on? I'm sure that you'll be very surprised with these answers because you know exactly what they are expecting from you. And also ask management. If management is happy with the performance of the team, the performance of a product, and how the Scrum Master is supporting the team, I'm sure that the Scrum Master is doing a pretty good job. A very long time ago, when I just became a Scrum Master, I asked one of the Agile coaches in the company, what's my ultimate goal as a Scrum Master? He simply replied, you need to become obsolete. Think about it. If a team is producing valuable products, customers are satisfied, stakeholders, management satisfied, the team is self-managed, continuously improving, and all of this without the Scrum Master. It that means the Scrum Master did a pretty good job. Yeah, you can evaluate the Scrum Master based on if a Scrum Master is needed or not. If a Scrum Master is no longer needed, the Scrum Master is surfing the web and has nothing to do. That's a pretty good Scrum Master. He did a pretty good job. I want to end this video with one key thing to bear in mind. All these metrics, all the things that the Scrum Master does for a team is for supporting the team, to help the team attain their goals. But when the team attains their goals, when these metrics are high and the team is doing really good, can you really prove that it's because of a Scrum Master? Think about it.